Hello everybody, and Jess here, and welcome back to Symphogear episode 6. I'm gonna have some family over in like an hour and a half, but that should be enough for an episode of Symphogear. I hope, because there were ones that I spent like 2 hours talking about, so we'll see what happens. In any case, Episode 6. Episode 6, or is it episode 5? 6. 6. Yeah, halfway through the season. Well, almost, because I think it's also 13 episode 1. But close to the midpoint. And indeed, a very important thing happened that we will be starting from, or that will kind of shape the status quo, shape the beginning of today's episode, and if not the beginning, then the rest of it. Namely, Miku was, we are led to believe, killed, but I still do firmly believe kidnapped. Elf9 for sure was kidnapped. That much we can be certain of, because Fudo needs her for some reason. Some nefarious reason, no doubt, but a reason nonetheless. Possibly something to do with forging a god sword that he wants to use. Turning that bracer, using alchemy, turning it into a godly weapon that will allow Japan to rule the world, or whatever the fuck his plan is. I don't know, he's kinda demented, so it doesn't necessarily always make sense. At least not to me. What else happened? Well, we spent some time in a previous episode. Spent some time doing karaoke, visiting some cafes, eating sweets, doing some shopping with Hibiki, Tsubasa, Elf9, and Miku. Tsubasa didn't quite like it because she's all PTSD'd right now after what happened during the concert, and she's in the sentinel mode, quote unquote, right? I am a sword, I am a weapon, yada yada yada. And of course Hibiki wanted well, Miku wanted well, but they had a spat because Hibiki doesn't see what Tsubasa needs, some, stuff like that. to not spend any more time talking about it. What else happened? The whole issue with the S.O.N.G headquarters being seized by the Japanese government was solved just like that. I really thought it's gonna take a little bit of time, a couple of episodes at least, to resolve that issue, but no. One call to Yatsuhiro and everything was just resolved immediately. Anti-warrant, and now their warrant has no power, and they are free to conduct operations how they see fit. So yeah, that was a bit of a nothing burger. I don't know. Like, sure, it showed us how the Japanese government is in relation to S.O.N.G. They don't trust them entirely, yada yada yada. It also establishes the fact that S.O.N.G is still under the Japanese government, right? They aren't some sort of an extra national organization that has nobody presiding over them. So I guess it served as a bit of world building, and also introduced the sleazy paper pusher character who probably died at the hand of Milark, was her name? I'm not entirely sure. I will learn their names eventually, I hope. Anything else? Nothing comes to mind, far as the previous episode is concerned. Today's episode. This season keeps up a very brisk pace, so it wouldn't surprise me if Miku was maybe not saved in today's episode, but she wouldn't surprise me if she was shown to be alive and well. that, haha, got you there, you thought she's dead, but she's not. She's alive and well, in captivity, but, alive. And we will probably end this episode with the reveal of the diabolic plan of forging the god sword and giving it to Miku, or, something like that. I don't know. Or perhaps using Miku as a deterrent for Hibiki, right? Don't you dare attack us, don't you dare foil my plans, because else your wife dies. The classic. We will see, I guess. Any other ideas for today's episode that I would have? Not really. Probably more fighting noise. No, I don't know. I don't know what else to expect, honestly. I scratched myself in a wound. It's never a fun feeling. Yeah, I don't know what else could happen. They will show Miku. That much I am pretty much certain of. It's not a show that would keep us too too tense about the fate of one of the main characters, right? They wouldn't keep the information that Miku is alive for episode 9 or episode 12, where she's revealed to be the big bad boss, or something like that. I think it is the kind of a show that will reveal the truth in this episode, maybe episode 7 at the latest. We'll see. We'll see. I keep repeating it and we're still not seeing, because to see you will need your subs, of course. And I need to reset the clock for some reason. I will need my sound to hear what's going on. Subs for you to follow along, of course, and sound for me to know what's going on. And support me on Patreon or Throne, links in the description below. Or if you don't want to pay anything, share my content, spread the word. It costs you nothing and helps the channel a lot still. And now with all of that out of the way, we can start watching episode 6 of Symphogear XV in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, last time on Dragon Ball Z. Oh, come the fuck on. Don't do that. Oh, we'll talk later. Living with regret and all that jazz. And of course, Tsubasa went berserk. Destroyed half the block. Just melted people's apartments. PTSD. That's a good question, actually. Why weren't they picking up? Blood? Question is whose? If she was killed, they wouldn't have taken the body. Why? The government agent, they might have wanted to get rid of his body to hide the, the involvement of government with the alchemists and whatnot. But Miku, she's just a passerby. She's just a nobody. Why would they take her body, right? Why would they dispose of it? They have a need for blood, yes, but a very specific kind of blood. It's not like they are man-eaters. We'll see, though. Maybe it's just hopium speaking through me. But I really don't think they would kill Miku. Especially not after they've been setting her up with all that, I want to protect, but I don't have the power to protect. I want to help Hibiki, but she has superpowers and I don't. I want to help everybody, but I don't have the strength to do so. You know, they've been setting up an arc for Miku. They wouldn't just cut it by an off-screen death. They wouldn't. Take samples, check in the DNA database or something. Or at least check, like, I know, the blood type. If the thing on the floor is AB and Miku has B, well, there you have it, it wasn't Miku. Well, apparently highest level of protection doesn't mean shit. Girl capable of becoming a... what? I mean, I know Miku is the purest there is, but... was it established before and I forgot that she's a vessel for divinity? Yeah, there was a mention of it, wasn't it? Wasn't there? In the previous season. Something rings a bell, but I don't know which church, you know? Apparently so. I mean, kinda. Yeah, chill the fuck out. I mean, can't you tell? Can't you tell what's going on? Like, sure, those three, those three might not know. Sure, they've joined a little bit later, but Hibiki should know. Even Chris. Genjiro for sure. Okay, where Miku? Assuming Fudo keeps his end of a bargain and actually gives you back your bodies, which isn't a given. Your bodies, your humanity. I fear it's gonna be another instance of trusting the villain and, oh no, the villain isn't trustworthy? Wow, what? Okay, and apparently he can also use Milark's skill to some degree. And brainwash Tsubasa. The fuck it isn't. Is Tsubasa here? Okay, she is. Okay. That's good. Kidnapped and in captivity, but at least alive. She says, smiling. Yeah, you remember this guy that came here sowing chaos? Funny story, actually. Okay, so it is something we didn't know after all. Or what's the deal? That's a lot of mannequins. Or dolls. I mean, hey, you gotta fulfill your dreams, right? They need your skills for something. Perhaps they're unable to activate Chateau de Tifauge without someone of Carol's descent. Okay, and now we see what actually happened. That's a lot of reused footage. Like, I see the purpose and all, but it kind of feels like padding for time a little bit. And he just burned. Okay. That's a useful skill. Being able to just burn people. Right, that's the thing. She's free from the curse of Balal because the blast from Shenshojin cleared that curse. Okay, it all locked in place now. Yeah, I get it now. She can attain divinity because she's been purified by Shenshojin. Yep, makes sense. The operating table. We're gonna implant a god into Miku. Or is it gonna be a moment, a thing where they try to put divinity into something, into a sword, into a mannequin, whatever, and then Miku jumps in and she gets blasted instead of that thing, and she becomes a god instead of Fudo, or instead of a sword, or instead of Tsubasa, or instead of, something else. Fine? No, but it's a god with the bracer, the owner of the bracer, so yeah. Miku's gonna become a god. It almost feels like the Symphogear are a set of tools dealing with divinity. Shenshojing to clear someone of sin. Something else to implant a seed of a god inside of a person. Gangnir in case the god is a failure and you need something to kill them with. Stretching a little. Stretching, pushing a little, sure. But the fact that we have a relic that essentially serves as a primer for divinity, and a relic that is a god killer. A spy drone. Oh, I thought it's Fudo spying on them, but no. Okay, or maybe after all. Okay, the music's picking up. I thought it's gonna be the end of the episode, but no. We still have a little bit of time. How can you have over 100% certainty? Someone who's responsible for the cleanup. Yeah. Boob rockets. Classic. They really should have some armored cars at their disposal. Ideally, some cars enhanced with Symphogear technology. Okay, pile drop. Okay. He can just use his ninjutsu on a car. Okay. Okay. Henshin. System all green, normal operation. Let's go. And the boob reload. Trust. Okay. Those are interesting bullets. Alkanoids, of course. Alkanoids on segways, of course. A lot, and literally up her sleeve. And what's that gonna give you? Your goal was to intercept the evidence. Fighting them doesn't really bring you any benefit. Okay. I mean, Ergetlam is like an actual thing that exists. I mean, in mythology. Yes. Some facts about Ichiaval? No. Rockets. They just let that guy plunge into under the bridge. I thought they're gonna save him somehow, stop the car or something. Okay. So she did save the car after all. Yeah, getting into their heads isn't gonna be as easy as getting into Tsubasa's. Detonate them mid-air. Yep. Oh, English. Put your hands up. Whomst. Oh, they're creating a god. Yeah, that's God musical, right? Or is it Miku coming into contact with the Bracer divinity? It's probably Miku coming into contact with the Bracer god inside of her mind. Yeah, that's a god cocoon. Who's inside? We'll see in the next episode. Okay. Okay. as I said at the beginning, they will show us Miku is alright very early on. Interesting that Miku met that bracer god in her unconscious state. Is it because she's fertile ground for divinity? And the gods, I don't know, the god's consciousness resides within the bracer? Or perhaps he just left the corporeal body and is now just a god somewhere in the sky, somewhere in the heavens, right? So he was able to come into contact. He, she, it was able to come into contact with Miku. Because she can become its earthly vessel. That's a possibility. After credits? Nope. Okay. This was a fairly normal episode. It's the word that comes first into my mind. Fairly normal. Nothing outlandish, I guess, happened. It was a summary and ending of the previous episode, essentially closed some threads and then started some new ones, right? We know what happened to Miku, what happened to Elf9, all of that stuff was resolved. We know that Fudo has some connections, yada yada yada, and then we're starting with the God Cocoon. Perfect for a midpoint episode. And now we will watch this perfect for a midpoint episode again as soon as I yes now. Shall we? Plenty of reused footage in this episode, I noticed. Last time on Dragon Ball Z, right? Although it weaves into the episode proper, it's not like the thing we got before the opening was just some moments of the previous episode. We got some new stuff. Miku's phone being broken, lots of blood, Miku's purse, of course, and only then do we get the opening. Yeah, investigation, two of them were designated the highest level of protection. You'd think that would mean something, you know, like a GPS localizer, like put an Apple AirTag in each of their bags or a shoe or, you know, something. Because it seems highest level of protection doesn't really mean shit. Like, sure, they were with Hibiki and Tsubasa, but if Miku was just walking back from school and was kidnapped en route, it's not like they would have been able to do anything differently, so what does highest level of protection even mean? Right? I don't know. Whatever it means, they kind of suck at it. Your investigation will be crucial for resolving this crisis, indeed. At first, I thought it's Tsubasa's hand, but then I realized Tsubasa is in no shape to be doing that. She's, I don't want to say antagonistic, but kinda. She's very Season 1. And Season 1 Tsubasa would not be consoling Hibiki by patting her head. It had to have been Chris. And indeed, it's Chris. That whole thing was a diversion. And of course, Tsubasa, oh, do you question my judgment? I'm a sentinel. Swords. I'm sorry for laughing at her personality right now, but it is kind of comedic. I mean, it's not comedic, but it is kind of laughable, kind of funny to me that she's all super extremely hard-assed about being a sword, being a sentinel. I know why, right? Like, I understand why. She went through some serious fucking trauma. and she's being re-traumatized constantly by Fudo and by being inside of her head. And apparently no one in the whole fucking Japan heard about psychotherapy. You'd think S.O.N.G would have a dedicated psychotherapist, especially since the easiest way to get okay, maybe not the easiest way, but those people, Symphogear users, are so powerful that you can't really threaten them physically, but you can threaten them mentally. So you'd think they would have some psychologists on team, or, you know, something of that sort. Kind of like the encryption and security and all that stuff in nowadays in modern times has gotten so good that you can't actually break that encryption. It's like quantum secure and whatnot. You actually cannot break it. It would take you millions of years to brute force it, and there are no other ways to break the encryption of, for example, JWT tokens. Or not SSH, SSL, the thing that gives you the green lock in the browser, right? HTTPS. They are secured by a wall of lava lamps that are all random, and people at Cloudflare have a camera pointed at that wall and generate encryption keys based on that. So it's completely 100% random. You cannot predict it. In any case, all that stuff has gotten so good that the easiest way to compromise a system is through a person. Send them an email with an attachment that will grab their JWT tokens. You don't need to break the encryption on them if you can just get them. Something like what happened to Linus Tech Tips channel. Someone sent them a PDF that grabbed some cookies and some tokens from the browser, and they were able to use it to sign into their YouTube account. They didn't need to crack the password or hack into the mainframe or anything like that. Accessing all that data, accessing all that stuff through a person is the easiest. People are weakest links. Similarly here, you'd think that they would try to reinforce their minds. Maybe not to make them a battle-hardened, soldiers with drill training and whatnot, but to at least give them the tools to deal with manipulation, so that they can recognize, aha, this person tries to manipulate me by referring to my sister. Joke's on you. I worked through my issues with my sister with my psychotherapist last week. It's not gonna work on me anymore, right? You'd think they'd do something like that, but apparently not. Apparently mental health care doesn't exist in Japan. And of course Tsubasa went her own way, because of course. Give her some space. Sure. And we are back at the chateau. We'll use these restraints to harness the undirected energy we extract from the bracer. And cue Fudo calling his daughter. I've been informed of your failure. Haha, you're a failure. And apparently he has access to Millark's power. It's not something that only Millark can use. And it's not just the power of aggro, apparently. It's also mind control to some degree. He can just say, seal command, and mind control Tsubasa, or at least influence her in some way. And of course, Kazanari blood flows through you, and you are a sword, you are a sentinel. Ame no Habakiri is the sword that protects Japan, her nationalism. It's neither Miku nor Elf9, that's good. Everybody's happy. Yeah, why would they want to kidnap Miku? And what's the deal with those mannequins? Are those failed vessels for divinity? Kinda like what Tiki was? If it's not alive, it cannot bear the curse of Balal, right? Is that the kind of thinking they're using? People are subject to the curse of Balal. Inanimate objects aren't. So inanimate objects are perfect vessels for divinity. Squishy elf 9 cheeks. I wouldn't be able to stop myself either, so I understand Milark in this situation. Yeah, reused footage. And now we know that it's this guy who got deleted, unalived. They didn't say it'd be raining blood in the forecast. Such a weird line. It would not be out of place in a comedy, but this is not a comedic situation. This is not a comedy. It very much feels out of place. Right, and you see Miku's reaction to it and Elfline's reaction. Miku fucking just was unconscious. It was such a huge shock, and the guy is joking about raining blood. And they were kidnapped. Miku is fine. You wanna use her because she's free from the curse of Balal? Yeah, I mean, why else? Yeah, got it in one. We have a full-on confirmation. We want you to use Carol's body to activate something for us. Not the whole chateau, just some sort of a generator that's supposed to direct the power of coffins at a mannequin. Sure, I mean, alchemy. And here Miku meets God. I don't think that's Fine. The outline is fairly vague. The bracer is clear, so we know it is whatever deity was encased in the sarcophagus, whatever was that Corpus Dei, or however they called it. That's the deity. Whether its consciousness is inside of a bracer, or some shard of its consciousness is inside of it, or it's just, you know, freely floating through space and time and is just anchored by the bracer and sees a perfect vessel, that remains to be seen. Maria training. The latest incident swept even our non-combatant friends into the fray. It must be quite a shock for all involved, along with the, revelation that they were purified of original sin by the light of the Shenshoujin. Indeed. Kinda makes me wonder. It's probably nothing, right? But it makes me wonder about the purpose of those relics. We have a relic that creates a fertile ground for divinity. We have a relic that destroys divinity. We have a relic that can rend souls. And the rest don't really have anything to do with divinity, so my theory is not even worth mentioning. I used to fight with Serena too. But then they would sing and make up. The apple crashed down on the ground, the stars were born, and then songs. And the Lulu Amel could smile forever. Did we not hear the verse about and the Lulu Amel could smile forever before? Maria certainly seems to believe so. Where did I hear the... Oh no, she did hear the phrase in the song, but she also heard it somewhere else. I misinterpreted it or misread it. Where did we hear that phrase recently? Did we? And the Lulu Amel could smile forever. Oh. That's Antikythera mechanism, or at least part of it. And yeah, now we know that Fudo, or at least Fudo's organization, is involved. And we cannot have that, of course. Why over 100% of certainty? I mean, even Genjiro seems surprised at it. With those kinds of numbers, it's almost more real than real. So what's the deal here? Is it because it's otherworldly, so it doesn't conform to, rules of space and time? The same way where the beam of that sarcophagus was way under absolute zero? The same way the Antikythera mechanism can be over 100% real? Interesting. Interesting, and I like it. I always like some extra dimensional fucky-wacky shenanigans of things that escape human comprehension and, elder gods and stuff like that. I sometimes keep coming back to a book that I don't think is translated to English. It's like one of very fresh, decently fresh books. I think it was written a couple of years ago. I bought it at a convention straight from the author. It's a sci-fi novel where aliens come to our solar system, and the aliens have a completely different understanding of reality. Completely different. There is no chance of communication. You cannot translate anything. You cannot do anything like that. There's no possibility of communication. You show them an apple, and they take it for a declaration of war. You cut that apple in half, and they hear Beethoven's symphony. You eat a piece of apple, and they see the color aquamarine, right? This kind of completely different understanding of reality. And I love it. I love that there's a temperature below absolute zero. I love that there is over 100% reality. This is great. I love it. I really do. And there seems to be some connection between Kamakura and Noble Red. I mean, yeah, who else would be able to sneak out a relic without anybody noticing? Classic boob rockets. Switch on Collider. Also, I've been talking a lot about mechanical design of gears and henshins, but there's some dope design in her as well. That pile driver leg, and of course Ogawa can extend his ninjutsu to a car. Why am I even surprised? Right? Like, why does it even surprise me? He could ride a train and then do Kagebushi no Jutsu and split that train across 4 different tracks. Modern ninja arts, indeed. Yeah, jet-powered hands. Chris's henshin, we've already seen it before, of course. Boob reload. Gun fingers. Yeah, some really cool mechanisms to her. I failed to intercept the evidence, but at the very least I can slow down the gear users. I don't know what purpose would that have. Like, your goal here was to capture the evidence or destroy the evidence. It's not like you planned on starting work with the divinity, with summoning a god. So it's not like you have to slow them down so that they don't get to your headquarters before it's done, because it isn't supposed to be even started yet. So you can slow them down from doing what? It's not like the evidence that Fudo works with Noble Red somehow also reveals where their base of operations is, or what they're planning to do, or when, so your plans are still decently safe. Why are you trying to slow them down? Do you mean to involve civilians again? Indeed. Random details about Ergetlam. Relic originally taken by the US military during the Iraqi war. Mysterious gear that was given a name of convenience because no one knew its true origin. So it might not be the mythological Ergetlam. Someone just saw a silver hand, figured out, oh yeah, there's an Ergetlam, silver hand in mythology, so we can just call it Ergetlam. It works, right, as a descriptive name, but it doesn't have to be the Ergetlam. Interesting. Also interesting implications, because we know that meaning and concepts have power in this world. Theoretically, if you were to take, I don't know, a brush, right? You take a brush with my beard hair in it, and you say, this is Shenshoujing. And everybody believes that this is Shenshoujing. Not just thinks it is Shenshoujing, or plays along with you believing it's Shenshoujing, but actually knows this is Shenshoujing. It will get the powers of Shenshoujing. That's the way I understand conceptual weapons and stuff like that. So assuming this is not the Ergetlam, thus calling it Ergetlam give it Ergetlam's powers? Could that be why it's so versatile? It can be a dagger, it can be a chain whip sword, it can be a gun, it can be so many things. Because it can have its original powers, and now it also has the powers of Ergetlam. I don't know. And of course, she's trying to get into her head, but she realizes it, as opposed to Tsubasa. If this is the end, at least let me see. See what? See what? As far as I'm concerned, you have a pretty nice sight in front of you. But I guess he would like to see the road. Knee rockets, elbow rockets. This was... Yeah, this was such a funny scene. Just jumped off, sending the driver to his death, just plunging into the abyss. This really took me by surprise. I thought there's gonna be, a Superman moment or a Spider-Man moment where Maria or Chris get in front of the car and try to stop it, pushing back, and they stop right in front of the chasm. Instead, she just jumped off it and let the car fall. But of course, Chris saved it. And she's still trying to get into their head. Because as she admitted herself, as the entirety of Noble Red admitted, they are weak. So they're gonna use every single underhanded tactic. If getting into their head can help them win, they're gonna try to get into their head. Simple as. But it doesn't work on Chris. It doesn't work on Maria. Because they know what she's doing. They know she's trying to get into their heads. And they know how to prevent that. Oh, you're gonna try to use the fact that we let civilians die against us. Well, simple enough. We're just not gonna let civilians die. Right? Now, of course, Tsubasa was much easier to control because she has all those traumas that she hasn't worked through with a therapist, apparently. So she was very easy to re-traumatize. Just opened old wounds. And meanwhile, when it comes to Maria, when it comes to Chris, she would have to open new wounds about not being able to save civilians. Because neither Maria nor Chris have any traumas about not being able to save someone. Maybe Maria with her sister a little bit, but not in the same way Tsubasa is traumatized about it. Big rockets, and they work perfectly together. The joint training, when they were taken out of their usual pairs and grouped up differently, is really paying dividends. Really. Chris is able to work with Maria perfectly. Chris shooting a rocket, Maria redirecting it with her whip. Chef's kiss. Put your hands at that. Such a funny line. And this sound, that's such a cool sound, so otherworldly. There's distortion, there's noise, there's like whale singing, there's echo, there's some blips in it, there's everything. If there existed an otherworldly music, if aliens or gods or demigods or extra-dimensional beings have the concept of music, this might very well be how that music sounds. Someone really did a good job doing that. If this divine, like, usually when you hear divine music of the gods or whatever, in any other show, in any other piece of media, it would just be, chorus and pipe organs, right? Because it's very elevated, there's a lot of pathos to it, right? That's associated with divinity because that's what they're playing at the church. That's what they're playing, I don't know, in other places of worship. They went a step above and beyond and actually created something otherworldly. I wonder who's the composer of this sound. I guess they also went with something this otherworldly because the concept of divinity in Symphogear is very interesting. Concept of divinity, the concept of gods in Japanese media to begin with is very different from the concept of divinity and gods in Western media. Because the West is largely monotheistic. Plenty of religions, right? But all of them are mostly monotheistic. There's just one god and maybe some smaller demigods that aren't even called demigods, they just find some way to go around it. Right, like the Holy Trinity. It's not polytheism, it's not like there's three different gods, it's the same god, but in three different shapes, right? Meanwhile, in Japan, they have this tradition, this culture of plenty of tiny little smaller deities, right? There's a god in this brush. There's a god in this glasses cleaning rag. There is a god in my desk. There is a god in the microphone, right? So the meaning of God is kind of watered down. Gods are plenty and they can be everywhere. Sure, there is Buddha, there is Buddhism, but it's not like it's, such hard-assed religion like Christianity or Judaism or whatever, right? And this is going even further than that. Gods are real, but they aren't actually, like, divine. They aren't outside of our understanding. Okay, they kind of are, but they are not concepts. They are actual being, extra-dimensional, impossible to comprehend, sure, but actual beings. They can interact with the physical world. They can be killed. They can be sealed. They need a physical body to manifest themselves, right? Where was I going with that? Something about... It started with the music, and then I went on a big apropos, or whatever you call it. I think I was going in the direction... I was trying to say that because gods in this world are not concepts, but rather physical beings from extra-dimensional beings, the music itself is also extra-dimensional, so to speak. If they were conceptual deities, the music would probably be pipe organs and chorus. I think that's where I was going with it. Regardless, let's continue. Chateau de Tiforge. What's going on? You heard this sound somewhere. Resounds with my heart just like Apple. Possibly because it is the song, the music that started the whole Symphogear shtick. The original music, or something along those lines. I don't know. And here we have a god cocoon. Who's inside? Probably not Fudo. He hasn't been involved. I'm assuming neither of the alchemists, and I'm assuming not Elf9 either. The only worthy vessel would be either a mannequin or Miku. So I'm assuming this is Miku. And the thing that was the climax of the previous season is just a footnote in the middle of this season. Okay, maybe not a footnote, right? It's like the main thing. But it occurred midway through the season. So I ask the same question with every episode. Where are we going from here? Where are we going from here? Oh boy. The thing that was the climax of Axis is just one of many story threads in XV. Someone turning into a god was that big, huge moment in the previous season. The finale. The biggest thing that happened. Meanwhile, here we are at episode 6 and someone has already turned into a god. So the question is, yet again, where do we go from here? I'm assuming in the next episode it will be revealed who is inside of that cocoon, and it will probably be Miku. In the next episode, episode 8 at the latest, we will deal with it, because this show, this season in particular, has been keeping a very brisk pace. Not too fast, right? It doesn't feel rushed, again, but the pace is very brisk. So if by episode 8, I'm assuming the whole thing with the cocoon god is resolved in whatever way, that leaves us 5 more episodes. Where do you go from defeating a god again? Like... The only thing stronger than a god would be a stronger god. Like, really. So I have no clue. So I don't have any ideas. Hibiki is a god-killing weapon. Has a god-killing weapon. She's not a weapon. Tsubasa believes she's a weapon, but she's not a weapon either. We already killed a god. And that was already a climax of the previous season. So can it be a climax of this season as well? No, we need something grander. What can be more grand than a fight with a god? A fight with a god of gods. If those deities are custodians that keep custody of the solar system of Earth, maybe, then who's keeping custody of them? Some deity of this dimension, maybe. I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm just spitballing here. I'm completely spitballing. I have no clue. The only idea I have is genuinely, the only idea I have is a stronger god. That's the long and short of it. Fighting on a scale of not just the planet, but on the scale of the solar system. Maybe. The god is the size of the Kuiper belt, reaches from Earth to the Kuiper belt, and now we need to combine our Symphogear powers to create a combiner megazord of energy and fight God on a solar system scale. Galactic scale, maybe. Local cluster scale. You know, we're now entering the territory of Gurren Lagann. But it's just scale. Sure, it's more epic, but it's just scale. So are we instead going to go in a metaphysical direction, the way Madoka Magica did? Where there wasn't some... Okay, there was a final battle, final fight, but it wasn't the finale. Are we going to have... I don't know, man. My brain is fried. My brain is fried. Perhaps after we defeat God Miku, I'm assuming God Miku, it might very well not be. Is the divinity going to get into Fudo? Why would it? He's a sinner. Fudo seems like a candidate for the final boss, but he cannot attain divinity. The only two people that we know of that can attain divinity are Hibiki and Miku. Are we going to do a reversal where it's Hibiki who's the final boss and Miku joins S.O.N.G with the bracer turned into a Symphogear? I don't know, again, completely spitballing here. And they're gonna go against brainwashed deity Miku, controlled by Fudo with Milark's powers. I know, I'm reaching, I'm trying to find something, but I don't think any of what I talked about right now has any sort of a purchase. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna drop it. I'm just not gonna waste the time talking about it. Good episode though. That much is for sure. A good episode. A little bit of kind of like reused shots, reused moments. I know it's not for the... It's the reason for it is not, you know, laziness, that the creators of this show got lazy and don't feel like animating some scenes, so they just gave us a clip show. It wasn't a clip show, but I guess it was done for pacing purposes. Right, this was the emergence of the God Cocoon was the perfect moment to stop the episode and then start another one. So if they didn't reuse the shot from the back alley, if they shortened it, if they didn't have Chris's henshin, then the end of the episode would be somewhere else and it wouldn't work as well. That's probably why. And I guess that kind of makes this... that's what makes this episode feel normal. It's a weird term. It's a weird word to use here, but previous episode felt not abnormal, but extra normal, I guess would be the best word to describe it. All those episodes felt like 2 episodes in one, essentially, because there was so much going on. This episode felt like a single episode in one. There wasn't anything big, like super ultra big going on. It was just a continuation of the previous episode mostly. It was developing some of the threads that we got, right? The connection between Noble Red and Fudo, finding some proof of that, showing us what became of Miku and Elf9, right? It was very... It wasn't an episode in the middle of something, it was a cap on something, and then smoothly going into the beginning of the next arc. I already said that, so why am I repeating myself? Am I just stalling for time because I feel like this episode is a little short? This video is a little short. An hour 11, I usually go like an hour 20, an hour and a half. But yeah, I think I said my piece. I think I said what I needed to say, and I don't want to stall for time anymore. It is what it is. There was plenty good in this episode, for sure, but not that much to talk about, because it had 1 episode's worth of stuff in it, not 2 episodes worth of stuff like some of the previous episodes. Okay, I'm gonna shut up now. But you don't have to shut up. If you have something to say so in the comments down below, of course. What did you think of this episode, of my reaction, my theories, stuff like that? No spoilers, please. If you do want to talk spoilers, my Discord is here, link also in the description. You can join it and talk Symphogear spoilers to your heart's content, because there is a Symphogear channel there and you can use spoiler tags. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, but tell me why so I can improve. Subscribe to the channel somewhere here to be notified of future releases of not only Symphogear XV but also Oyuki Yumi no Kaena and Benria Saito-san Isekai ni Iku and other shows that will be coming in the future. So click the bell icon also somewhere here if you want to be notified of my live streams, because I do stream sometimes. And if you want to help the channel, so you can support it monetarily on Patreon or Throne, links in the description below. Again, on Patreon for $10 a month, you get early access to non-seasonal shows like Symphogear XV, Madoka Magica, and plenty others. And for just $1, you get a role on the Discord and a place in the credits. On Throne, you can pitch in directly towards my purchase of better gear, better software, stuff like that. And if you don't want to spend any money whatsoever, share my content, spread the word. It costs you absolutely nothing and helps me a lot, believe me. And with all of that out of the way, that's gonna be it from me for today. How did it go? That's gonna be it from me for today. So as always, you guys do all the good stuff, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Cheers! And here's the list of my wonderful Patreons. You can be one of them, and you don't need to attain Divinity to achieve that.